So in this video, I'm going to go through the new Google Sites, at least new as of October of 2017. Some of you may be familiar with the, classic or original Google Sites. You can see here I'm logged into my Google Sites at sites.google.com. You can also get there by logging into any of your Google tools like your Gmail or your Google Drive. Clicking on your little waffle and going down Sites will bring you here. You'll notice over here in the left hand corner it says New Google Sites. So let's click on that. It'll bring me to the New Sites interface. It looks a little like your Google Drive in that you can move things into list view. You can see I have one new fake site there. You can decide how you sort things. So in this case, I'm going to go and start with a new site. So you see here in the bottom, I can create a new site. It's going to pull up, ask me to pick a name for my site. The new interface looks a lot like a number of website tools out there. So you can see here, I have this single slide for my site so far. On the side, I have these options in my toolbar. I have an insert and all these different tools. You can see where I can add pages. Right now, I just have the home page, and I can change my theme. So you can see here the different themes I can pick. And for the different themes, you can also pick different color schemes and different font styles. So in this case, I'm going to stick with simple and with this default bluish color. So I need to name my site. So I'm going to call it Practice Site. You can see where I could add a logo to my site. Now any of the options, or most of the options for adding images, I have an option where I can select things and it will link right with my my albums and or my Google Drive. That's one thing you're going to notice throughout this tool when you work with it. The Sites totally integrates with the rest of your Google tools. So in this case, I'm not going to add a logo. I will add a title. Very clever, my title. You can see where I can change the background image. This gallery with several different things, or you can add a URL for a specific place. You can do a search on Google, or again, your Google Albums or your Google Drive is an option. Okay, so now let's talk about inserting in some items. So I got my page set. I go to Insert. I'm going to add just some basic elements. I'm going to add a text box. If I click on it, it automatically drops it in to wherever the next empty spot is. I can add my text here. It gives you your kind of standard text options in terms of what style of text it is, bold, how you want your alignment. You notice you can link text. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So next I'm going to add in images. So if I click on to add an image, same options as I was showing you for the header, for the icons. In this case, I'm going to go to my albums and select this photo here, add it in, and I'm going to add one more image. In this case, I'm going to do a search. So I will search for Vermont. Okay, one of the things I want to point out is that the search results are listed for commercial reuse with modification. So if you're worried about copyright, these images have already been approved for reuse. I'll go through and add that image. So you can see I have some text, I have some images. Now any of these artifacts can be moved around on my page. So for example, I could click and drag it here. You see I have that blue line? It would snap in my image there. Let's say I want to add my other image here. Now I have this text, which I can shrink a bit. Sandwich between these two images, which I can grab the little corners, the handles, and in this case I can make them a little bit larger. You'll notice that you have some other tools with your images. I can do things like crop. I can uncrop if I cropped it. I can also link not only text but images. So I could have this image here, for example, let's say link back to some information online about Vermont. Okay, so that was just a matter of dropping things in. Okay, you can embed in a URL. So you could have a simple web link. So I'm going to just do a web link to Google. Some sites will let you embed a little preview of the site into it. Some, like this one, because of permissions, will only give you a link to the URL. Keep in mind, I can also link images or text. Okay. And upload. So what upload will do is let me pick something that's on my machine. Like I have this generic screenshot or this one. Okay. I could add in an image that way. Divider is just what it says. So if I select it, it just gives me a vertical line that separates my page. Okay. So let's talk about some of the Google embeds. So some of the things I can do is I can add a Drive folder or specific Drive docs. So let me show you both. I'm going to do a Google Doc. So if I click on it here, it'll bring me a browser that searches through my Google Drive and lets me pick or search for specific documents. So you see here I have a search. So if I know the name or some contents, it's organized currently by date. In this case, I'm going to pick this Google Sites Overview document and insert it in. And what it does is it gives me a little preview. So when this site is active, it will let me scroll through that document. So let me show you what that's going to look like. I'm going to jump up here to the top. You can see where I have my undo and my redo for my actions. This option right here with the eyeball is my preview. So I'm going to click on my eyeball for my preview, and this shows me what my site will look like. So I can see where my title is, my text, I can see where my images are. If I scroll down, you can see I have this document that has the live scroll bars on it. So not only can I see the document, I can scroll through the document. The document has some links in it. Those links are live. The other thing I'll point out for the preview is these three icons here. So there are options where you can look at your site, for example, in a phone view. So if you're really trying to format it to make sure multiple users can use this and how they would look at it, you have the phone, you have a tablet, and you have a large screen computer or laptop. Hitting the X will get me out of my preview mode. So there's a single document. Well, let's say I do from Drive. So what Drive that does is it lets me pick a single folder, show the contents of that folder on my site. So I'm going to pick, for example, this Orleans folder here and insert it. It's going to give me a little preview showing those documents. If I look at the online preview, what my site will look like, and I'll jump this to the large screen computer just to give a little more real estate. There's my document. You see here now I have this folder with all these options, right? So I could click in, select documents, and have access from there. Okay, I'll close that out. Now keep in mind, since this is linked into Google Documents and Google Folders, all of these individual items have unique properties. So just because something's added to a site, if the document doesn't have view access for people, they're not going to be able to view it. You can see some other options here. So you could embed in a YouTube video, a calendar, or a map. It's as simple as click and searching for the video to embed in. The calendar syncs with your calendar or your calendars. So in this case, it would be my personal calendar or a calendar that's been shared with me. So for example, I can insert in this Brownington calendar, and it would be on my site. In Map, we'll search either for the maps that are already stored in your Google, or you can look at it by a certain address. So that's a quick overview of the insert. Let's talk about pages. So right now I have a one-page or kind of a one-sheet site. If I go to Pages and click on Add a Page, I could make multiple pages. So let's say this is an information page. Okay, you can see now I have my information page, I have my home page, and let's do one about me. You can see now at the top where I have these links, so I can go to About Me, I can go to Information, or I can go to my home page. So that's what it does. It will build across the top where your navigation bars are based off of the items that are under your pages. You'll see there is a gear on the left-hand side, so I could change how my navigation works. So if I don't want it across, I could do a side navigation, which will give me these 3 lines. And it'll open up like that. So that will depend on your personal preference and how you're setting up your site. Any of these pages can be built under the Insert menu, just like I built my home page. So I could add in, for example, a text box or images. You'll notice under Pages there's these 3 dots. So if I click on them, you can see there's different options. So I could set one as a new home page. If for some reason I didn't want the original home page to be active and wanted that to be like a secondary page. You can duplicate a page, which is really handy if you make like a template. You set things up exactly the way you want. You just want to change a little bit of information each time. You can duplicate it. You can rename it, which will also rename the information there. You can create a subpage. So under Information, I could have a page that's, let's say, school information. So now when I go to my my main menu bar, you can see I have my home, my About Me, my information, and it has this sub-menu. So you could do multiple sub-pages under Information I could do. So let me just do one about work in general, I guess. But also for the sub-pages themselves, you have the dots, okay? And you can see here where you have information where you could duplicate those, rename those, so on and so forth. So while you can't do sub-pages of sub-pages, all the other things you can do with main pages, deleting them, so on and so forth, you can do there. Now you'll notice that one of the options listed is to hide from navigation. Now if I hide a page from navigation, I'm not going to have it listed in any of my menus. But one of the things you can do is you can link to any page. So for example, if I go back to my home page and I select my text and I click on my link, not only can I add text link to a URL, but I could, for example, link this to my information page. So now this is a live link that takes me to my information. And I could see that by clicking my preview and then I can test it out from there. So I click on it, and it will take me to that page. So if you hide stuff in your navigation, you can use text to link to it. Okay. Again, my themes apply to whatever pages I'm working with. Options across the top. You can add editors, so just like any other Google file, you can have multiple people collaborate with you. They just need to have a Google address. You can see here how you can invite them. The More option has a handy dandy tour. That's something you may want to check out for more PD opportunities. I haven't looked a lot at analytics because I haven't had an active site that I'm trying to track. And then you can see publish. So when you publish it, it publishes it either for anyone within your domain, so if you have an education account like me, or anyone on the planet. Okay? You can request that public search engines don't display your site. That means they won't show up in search results. Makes it a little more private. You can see here, this is where the URL would be. So if I publish that, then I'm going to just open up another browser. In this case, I'm going to open up Firefox. And I will paste in that link. And lo and behold, that fake site should come up. Now in this case, you'll notice that some content's not showing up. That's because this document wasn't public for everyone on the planet. This Google folder wasn't public for everyone on the planet. This calendar was. So again, just to highlight that even if you add things from your Google Drive or your calendar or so forth to a site, it doesn't mean people will be able to access them if those people don't have access to those original documents. So hopefully that'll give you a little bit of an overview of the new Google Sites. One of the things I did notice is that when I go to my Google Drive, the sites are starting to populate within my list here. So there's 2 new sites listed. So that's kind of interesting. You can see how they're integrating sites right into Drive. And if you're an oldie but goodie like me, you can always go back to the original sites and currently still work.